Hello, everybody. This is the Chocolate News Podcast. I'm your co-host, John Alexander Reese.
And I'm your co-host, Andria Carter.
And if you don't know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955 and is the leading African American owned newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area and Northern Kentucky area. How's it going, Andrea?
It's going fine, John. I'm getting used to the cold a little bit. But other than that, I'm doing fine. It's fall, the leaves are falling, and we had our first frost advisory. I didn't see any frost yet, but we had our first frost advisory. So yay. And I still haven't drunk anything with pumpkin spice in it yet. So
Yeah, I'm not a big fall person, but my girlfriend is, so I'm glad she's happy.
well, I because I'm watching my sugar levels and everything, this is the first year that I have not been able to partake in eating some candy corn
Oh, okay.
pre-Halloween, which is just making me sad because I know I can down a bag of candy corns all by myself and be very, very happy, but I'm trying to be good to myself and true. So
I mean, that's good. But personally, I've never really been a big candy corn person, but that's just me though.
oh, it is. I mean, all the different varieties they have for candy corn. Candy corn is one of those candies that is mobile, is good, and just puts you on a sugar high.
Mm,
That when you come down, it's like, okay. But now I'm more into the Tootsie Pops, that occasionally, and then just I'm sort of weaning myself off of my love of candy, unfortunately. But
yeah, I gotcha.
but
Um,
I see the candy sales about to happen, so I'm kind of like I might be tempted to do something, but right now I'm being strong. So yes.
well, that's good. So what's the chocolate news of the week?
Well, the chocolate news of the week has been a big high and a big low. I'm going to get started with I want everyone to think kindly of the 2,000 victims that were killed in the earthquake that occurred in Western Afghanistan. It hasn't gotten a lot coverage on the news, unfortunately, but it always saddens me to hear when there is natural conflict that occurs and people are victim of that natural conflict. I mean, we're still in the tail end of the hurricane season. So, we're watching that and the earthquake. And then, we have all of the other conflicts that are going on around the world. We have the Israeli Palestinian conflict, we have the Ukrainian war still ongoing. And then, another thing that's not being covered by the news effectively is the fact that on the African continent, let's also think about our brothers and sisters who are being victimized through the various coups that have occurred over the last 3 years.
Mm,
Some of them have occurred this year, but very quietly. A number of military figures have been carrying out takeovers in several countries, including Gabon, Niger, Burkina Faso, the Sudan, Guyana, Chad, and Mali. In fact, the coup in Niger is the latest one that occurred in July. And a friend of mine who works on the international space, she was telling me about how there are so many coups going on in Africa. And it's concerning to her because of the influx of money from Russia and China in the African continent. You have to wonder what's going on in these countries that have been led by dictators, and now you're seeing this uprising. So I think with all of what's going on around the world, we should take stock, be blessed that we are in the situation that we are in, but be aware of what's going on around the world and how it may affect us here at home. So that's one very concerning chocolate news that I'm going to update everybody on as it continues.
right.
So it's kind of sad. But on good news that we just heard yesterday, the Western and Southern Open tennis tournament is going to stay in the Cincinnati area.
Yay.
It was the owners made the official decision. Well, no, they made their decision official on Tuesday, and so the Linder Center will be the home of the Western Southern Open for another 25 years. Everyone remembers when the Western Southern Open was bought by the BMOC Capital last October, they were looking at the possibility of moving the tournament to Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, Charlotte does not have a tennis facility like the Western Southern, I should say, like the Lindner Family Center in the area, and they would have to build one to house the Western Summit tournament. Well, they found out, well, the BMOC Capital found out that it was going to cost them $400 million to build a new facility in Charlotte.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, where instead it would be a very cheap $150 to $200 million to upgrade the Lindner Center in time for the 125th anniversary of the tournament next year. So, and then behind the scenes, also, the business community stepped up and made pledges to sponsor the tournament to keep it here as well. And during the last tournament, where we saw Coco Gauff win spectacularly, the owners were very impressed, not only by the sponsors in the area, but who came out to the tournament, and the reaction of how much people love tennis in this area. And I think that was a big win, or a big show of how well they will receive and see the treatment and other things that they can do with the tournament in the area. And because of that, the Western Southern Open is going to stay. So we'll get to enjoy 25 years of great tennis in the area every year in August in Mason, Ohio. Yay!
Yeah, that's great because
I'm especially great if Coco comes back, because I want to see her play.
oh yeah, most definitely. And brings so much revenue to the local economy, so that's always good.
Well, I like the fact that we're seeing not only, the new younger players come through before the US Open, but you're seeing such a diverse amount of talent, whether they're at the low end of the scale or the high end of the ranking in the tennis world. We're seeing some great tennis. And I think it's an inspiration if we can get our young people to see these tennis players and see what could be if they worked at it. So I'm very, very excited for next year, and well done, Cincinnati. Well done on that. I think that's fantastic. Next, the Bengals won as well. Another win for the area. Joe Burrows, he was smiling. He wasn't stumbling. He was moving swiftly, and they knocked it out of the park. And Jamar Chase had a great game. He was just moving around the field as much as possible. Joe Burrows threw for 317 yards and 3 touchdown passes. Jamar Chase finished with a season high of 190 yards receiving, and they beat the Arizona Cardinals. So now they are 1-3. So, which I'm kind of happy there's that one check. So, but I'm really happy about the fact that Joe seems to be healed. So, I know he's going to have to baby that calf, but it seems that he's gotten over the worst of the calf injury, I should say, that the
Right.
Bengals are, going to take off. We'll see what happens next week. I'm taking it 1 week at a time. So, but I'm very, very glad that we have a check in the win column. Yay!
Yeah, that's always good to hear.
It's always good, and I'm just looking forward to the next game. So we'll just have to see what happens. Next, I would just have to say I have to stop and tell you the great time I had. Well, no, I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna end with that. I'm gonna move into politics just a little bit, but I'm gonna start off with Robert Kennedy Jr. Now,
Oh Lord.
yeah, unfortunately, the misguided soul that he is of the Kennedy family. The thing that he carries the name of his father, but he's not like his father, which is kind of a shame. But anyway, Robert Kennedy Jr. has decided to not run in the presidential race as a Democrat, but instead he's going to throw his hat in the ring as an independent. It's going to be interesting to see how it affects the race. The because independents are that silent majority of you don't know if they're going to lean to Republican or Democrat or what, because you always have the other parties in the race as well. So you just don't know where the independent voters are going to land. I'm it's kind of sad that, RFK, he he's a very interesting guy.
Yeah, I think
In
you chose the
terms,
right word. Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, he, it's kind of sad that, he's talking about, the unfounded conspiracy theories regarding the COVID-19. He's made some anti-Semitic sentiments. He did some postings about the virus being engineered to favor certain demographics and other things like that, which I think it's kind of sad to see where his thinking has gone. Um,
Hmm.
it's also kind of sad that his family has come out against his candidacy. And it's bad when your own family says don't vote for him.
Oh
I
yeah.
remember another candidate out west, his family did that to him, and he lost his race. I think he lost his bid to be a senator or a congressman. I can't remember, but I remember, it's bad when your own family says don't vote for you.
Yeah.
It's bad. And it was just said that he's part of the illustrious Kennedy political dynasty, and they've come out against him. But you never know what's gonna twist you up and change you. So it's kind of sad, but he is now an independent candidate for the presidency of the United States. So it's gonna be interesting to see who else tries to run as an independent to try to split that vote and see what happens.
Mm.
That being said, I'm just going to mention another controversial issue that has gone on this week. Well, I shouldn't say controversial, but sad, is Hugh Van Ellis. Many may not know his name, but he was a survivor of the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre of Black Wall Street, and he was 102, and he
Wow.
passed away on Monday. He was known as Uncle Red. He was among the last three known survivors of, like I said, the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. He was also part of, I believe, the lawsuit to sue the state of Oklahoma regarding that massacre.
Mm.
Um, he was a World War II veteran. He stood up for America and the Constitution, despite all that's been done to him and what he's experienced over his time. It's kind of sad, and the last two survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre are now Viola Ford Fletcher, who was 109, and Leslie Bennington
Wow.
Randall, who's 108. And he was and Ellis Van Ellis was the youngin of the three. So but they do say women outlast the men, so what can we
Yeah.
say?
But still,
Um
100 and you said 102 or 103?
he was 102.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
That is, he's lived a long time, but he witnessed a tragedy that people were never convicted of, that they were
Yeah.
complicit, they tried to cover it up. And then with the anniversary, I credit Wall Street Journal for writing a wonderful Pulitzer Prize winning package regarding the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre and what happened to the victims of it, and how people didn't recover or receive their insurance payments and things like that. So, it's just kind of sad
Yeah.
what happened, but it is something that we hope that as the people have a hard time accepting history and what happened in the past. And, the more you try to bury it, well, let's put it like this: the more you try to keep something a secret, the more the secret will come out.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And, and unfortunately, the Tulsa the race massacre, I should say, is not the only massacre that occurred in America.
Oh yeah.
There were other places where there were Black towns that were destroyed because they were thriving compared to other towns who were not thriving.
Yeah.
There are lakes in Georgia that sit on top of former Black towns. trying to cover up what they did to them, because people who get jealous of success will try to destroy it, but eventually it will come out. And it's a stain on America when you fail to admit what happened and still continue to try and cover it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of sad that to see this figure of history go, but hopefully, we'll learn something from his passing. So there's that. And then, another good note, the Xavier Jesuit Academy held their groundbreaking ceremony for the faith-based scholarship-funded school in Bond Hill. The school will be based on the campus of the Church of Resurrection, or also known as the former St. Agnes School, on California Avenue in Bond Hill. And it's supposed to open in the fall of 2024. The school will provide a unique and proven education model called the Jesuit Nativity Education Model, with smaller class size designed to engage and encourage young men from economically challenged communities during their formative years. So it's a way to encourage young people who have not been exposed to anything different to learn something different.
Mm-hmm.
The core of the curriculum will focus on reading, language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies, basic stuff that we had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But it will feature an extended day model and providing intentional programming for students with engaging options for fun and complement the core academic curriculum. So we're going to see what happens. I believe it's going to be a free school. I don't think there's going to be a tuition or anything like that, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's kind of sounds like almost like the Crystal Del Rey model, but without getting people to work in businesses.
Gotcha.
So, but the education has been moving in a new direction to prepare people more for, their future than for the now. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the school opens and the success that they have.
Yeah, it should be.
And my final chocolate news of the day is the NAACP Freedom Fund dinner with the keynote speaker, Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah. So how was he?
Oh, he was good. I would just say that he gave a very uplifting and passionate speech about teamwork, collaboration, and how that despite the efforts of people trying to suppress what other people have experienced, you can't use that to govern. You have to be able to look beyond the limited and look at the bigger picture to pursue a bigger and better democracy. He didn't give too much details about what was going on in Congress, because they just voted out McCarthy, and they're looking for a new Speaker of the House. And he didn't give too much details, but he did, he spoke from the heart. He was very passionate. He's a very good speaker. And I would just say the women were swooning because he was wonderful to look at. I didn't get a chance to meet him. I did take a picture of him up on the Jumbotron. But I did see him. He did have people meeting with him, greeting him. He was very well received. A number of women came to see him because he is very nice to look at, even though he's married. That's just the eye candy person of me, But I also have to commend the Cincinnati NAACP. They did a wonderful job. It was their largest dinner ever. They had over 1,500 people attend that dinner. So they had a record turnout for their dinner. And we also want to commend the winners of the Freedom Fund Awards that they gave out that night. So real quick, David Whitehead received the President's Award. Robert Richardson, the former president of the NAACP, received the Game Changer Award. Fanon Rucker, the former municipal judge, he received the Wright Overstreet Memorial Award. John Smith, the long-serving mayor of Silverton, he received the Theodore M. Barry Award. Tyron Stallings received the Empowering Education Award. And then the Community Outreach and Partnership Award recipients included Renee Mahaffey Harris. She received the Individual Community Outreach and Partnership Award. The Urban League of Greater Southwestern Ohio received the Nonprofit Community Outreach and Partnership Award. The Kroger Company received the Corporate Community Award. Lincoln Ware, who's been in the radio business for over 50 years and just had a street named after him, he received the Inspiring Innovator Award. And then Carmen Sanders is a long distinguished volunteer with the NAACP, so she received the Distinguished Volunteer Award. So those were the winners of the Freedom Fund, the awardees. It was a wonderful dinner. I had a great time. The food was fabulous, and you saw the people who were mingling. You saw a number of the politicos in the room, a lot of community people, a lot of church people, a lot of activists. All were in the room to enjoy and hear from Hakeem Jeffries. So that was a wonderful weekend, and that is the chocolate news for the day.
All right. Well, thank you, Andrea. And before we end the show, I just wanted to point out that Yvette Simpson, she was a former Cincinnati City Council member, and then she was a ABC. Did she work for ABC News?
Yeah, she I think she's still a commentator for ABC News, and she was the former president of Democracy for America.
Right, right. Well, anyway, she has a book signing this Saturday, October the 14th. It's at Joseph Beth Booksellers. It's from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. It's going to be a nice event. Vice Mayor Jan Michelle Lemon Kearney is going to be there. She's hosting the event, and Yvette's going to be there. She's going to sign books. The book is called On Purpose: The Power of Authenticity and Intention, and it was birthed in the midst of the once in a generation global pandemic. On the other side of the pandemic, millions of people are asking why and what now, and then how. The book examines the promise of purpose as the pathway to fulfillment and balance. So it sounds like an interesting book. It sounds like I'm going to be asking myself a lot of questions while I'm reading it and afterwards, too.
Oh yeah, that sounds really, really interesting. So I'm gonna look forward to I'm gonna have to get the book and see what it's all about. And it sounds like it's a good read.
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, make sure you come to that, folks, and join that. And afterwards, you may be able to go get some breakfast at First Watch. I'm sorry. I do enjoy First Watch breakfast. But
Oh,
anyway,
they have some good food, so I'm
they
right there
do.
with you.
They do. But for real though, seriously, come to the book signing. It sounds like it's going to be a good time. You'll meet Yvette, you'll meet the vice mayor, all that good stuff. Sounds like a fun time. But anyway, that's it for today's show. And I want to thank Andrea again for all the chocolate news of the week. So thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome. It's always interesting to see what the week brings up in terms of what's going on in the world.
Of course. And you can find more information about today's topics and past podcast episodes on www.thecincinnatiherald.com, the Sesh newsletter, or on our social media. Remember, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Threads. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. Our podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Amazon, YouTube, Google Podcasts, and whatever podcast service you're listening to. In addition, the Cincinnati Herald is now accepting applications for an advertising representative. So please call or text our publisher, Walter White, at 513-680-7076 for more information. I'm John Alexander Reese.
And I'm Andria Carter.
And have a good day.